Welcome to Street Talk. I'm Loretta Rose. Today I am excited about today's show. I have been wanting to have a holistic medicine doctor on the show. Well, today you are going to be informed in a natural medicine way. Today we have Dr. Stanley Himes. He's on today, so let everybody know and tune in right now. It's Street Talk with Loretta Rose here on CTV Bean. All right, welcome to Street Talk. My special guest is Dr. Stanley Himes. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yes, I am so glad to have you on. When I tell you, I have been praying for a conversation like this for the people. Because we don't normally get a lot of this education.
Right.
Medically. So to let everyone know about Dr. Himes, you practice medicine in Columbus.
That's
so
right.
You're in the local area.
Right.
But you've been in the medical profession about 35 years.
That's right.
So let everyone know how you started first.
Okay, well, the name of my practice is OPT, O-P-T, the number 4 Wellness in Columbus. Started as an anesthesiologist and did that for a number of years, and I noticed that had an increasing number of people who were having chronic disease, high blood pressure, kidney disease, diabetes, and wondering what's going on. There's got to be something in their environment. So went back and got more training and started doing general medicine and holistic medicine and learned the power of food. Hippocrates said, "Let food be thy medicine." But for most Americans, food is a poison. So a lot of my practice, I use food as a medication.
Ooh.
So there's a lot of things you can do. A lot of people, for instance, in the church, we getting our spiritual health, but they forget about their physical health. And you can't just eat what you want to eat and be healthy.
Wow.
You know, God wants our bodies to be our temple and to be healthy. So
yes.
one of the things I want to talk about is maintaining memory and preventing Alzheimer's disease.
Ooh,
so a lot of people think that this is going to happen to everybody, and that's not true. Not true.
Yeah.
So one of the things that people need to do that's really important is get enough sleep. So one of the primary things I do when people come into my practice is make sure that they're sleeping 7 to 9 hours a night.
So that is helpful.
That is key.
Let me tell you, because I'm a woman that can get my sleep in. It may not look like it, the way my schedule operates, but believe me, this sister get her sleep. But I have some family members say, I sleep too much. No. But I feel better when I do. I am very fatigued when I don't get enough sleep.
As far as your memory, if you don't get enough sleep, you will not be able to remember, you will not be able to learn. If you don't get enough sleep, it's been shown that your learning goes down by 40%. So some of the things people need to do is they need to be in bed by 10 o'clock.
Okay.
Because we're on the earth. The earth revolves once every 24 hours. It's called circadian rhythm. So every 24 hours, let's say there's an average of 12 hours of sunlight and 12 hours of darkness. Our bodies are set to sleep at night.
Wow.
Sleep at night. People who work shift work, who work at night and sleep during the day, have a much higher rate of chronic disease, high blood pressure, diabetes, and cancer. Wow. We know this for a fact. So they are not, it's all off, and the body doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
You need to get plenty of sunlight on your skin during the daytime. This tells your body it's daytime and sun, and then as night comes around, you need to start withdrawing the television, the computer, the cell phone. All that has a blue wavelength light that tells your brain that it's not time to go to sleep.
Oh. Well, that's why they said we shouldn't go to sleep with the television on.
That's right. All that emits blue light. The phone emits blue light, the computer screen. So, you know, an hour or two before, you need to start bringing the lights down and get into a routine. Either take a hot bath, read a dull book, slow down, so you're telling your body it's time to go to sleep. I tell my patients the bedroom is for sex and for sleep. You shouldn't have a TV in there.
Okay.
And all this other stuff in there. That's what the bedroom is for. So when you go into the bedroom, it's time to go to sleep.
Time to go
or
to
get
sleep.
busy.
Yes, yes sir. Yes.
So you don't want to drink alcohol before you go to bed. Alcohol is a disruptor of sleep.
I would think, I'm not a drinker, but I would think that would help relax them.
It might help you relax, but it disrupts the sleep cycle. Sleep is made into cycles. We go through every 90 minutes through 4 or 5 stages of sleep, and then we get to REM sleep, which is the most important. That's where we get our rejuvenation, where we repair, our brain cells repair, your whole body repairs. As the night goes on, the amount of time in REM sleep increases with each time, every 90 minutes. So the longer you're able to sleep, period, the more REM sleep you get, the more dreaming you get. You dream during REM sleep, and the more rejuvenation that you get.
Okay, so when we're having those dreams, we're in the REM sleep.
Absolutely.
My daughter, she's studying all about the brain and
REM
how
is
it
very
works. She was
important.
telling me about that.
But if you're with alcohol, what happens is that's disrupted. You may go to sleep initially, but you wake up. And then if you wake up, then you're disrupted. So you've got to go through 1, 2, 3, 4 REM, and then you get light again, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 REM, and each time the REM gets longer and longer and longer and longer until you wake up. So being in bed by 10 o'clock, the pineal gland in the brain secretes melatonin. Melatonin tells your body it's time to go to sleep. It also helps, we know that cancer patients have very low levels of melatonin. Okay, so sleep and melatonin are very important for health.
Okay.
Then you can talk about nutrition. So we are probably meant to eat a plant-based diet. Doesn't mean you have to be a vegetarian, but whatever you eat, whatever the plant or animal you eat is what they eat. So if you have chickens that are stressed out, they are born, they live in a little space, and they never get out into the sun. They're stressed out, they're sick, they have to give them antibiotics so they don't die. They have to give them hormones to fatten them up, because everybody wants to have big thighs, big breasts in the chicken. You eat that, and that's going to hurt you. So when they say range-free chicken, that means chickens that are out walking around during the day eating grass.
Wait a minute. I done had it. Wait. I have seen in the stores where it tells you cage-free chicken.
That's what they're talking about. Most chickens are in a no window. Just think, you're born and you never get to leave this spot for the rest of your life. Normally it takes 12 to 14 weeks before maturity. They do it in 10. And they push it. And they're stressed out and all this. You want chickens that are walking around, eating grass, eating worms. That's what you want. So a lot of the stuff that they're putting on there, you don't know if it's true or not, because they can say cage free, and that just means they in a building where there's stuff, but they're not in a cage, and there's no sunlight in there. Same thing with animals, with beef. Most beef is inflammatory, and we know that inflammation, internal inflammation, causes chronic disease, high blood pressure, diabetes. So you want beef, cows that eat grass. You want lamb that eat grass, because that's how it's supposed to be. Most cows are fed corn to fatten them up, and corn is very bad for the cow and very bad for us. It causes inflammation.
Wow. It's funny you're saying this about the beef, because you know, just having conversation with people, they say, okay, I don't do any pork, I just do beef and chicken, or chicken and fish.
Right.
But I guess you have to be careful.
You have to be, it's what fish, farm-raised fish, bad news. That means they're in a farm, in a pen, and they're feeding them corn pellets. So You would think the fish should be good, salmon should be good, but no, they're not nutritious and they're deleterious. So now,
The salmon?
yeah, you want
And
salmon.
that's the most expensive
you
one
want
on the menus.
wild salmon that's caught in the ocean, as opposed to farm raised. Farm
got
raised
it.
is bad news.
Okay.
So
good
one of
tip.
the other things about memory, as you get older, you have to exercise. Exercise is key, and I'm aerobic exercise where you increase your heart rate. That means you can walk, you can swim, you can dance, whatever you want to do. Resistance, you got to keep your muscle mass up as you get older.
Okay.
Because as you get older, the main risk is falls and breaking a bone. If you break your hip, high mortality, 50, 60%. Very bad news. So resistance, twice a week, 30 minutes, that's all.
Is it safe to take calcium? You know, they're wanting you to start taking calcium at a certain
I don't think
age.
you really need to be taking calcium. You need to eat right. Get it through your food. There's other supplements that you need, such as vitamin D, that are very important because we don't get enough sunlight. People are putting on sunscreen, which is blocking the reaction of sun, making vitamin D in your skin. And there's very few foods that have vitamin D in them. You'll notice that milk and all that, it says vitamin D fortified, which means it's been added.
Okay.
It's been added.
Wow.
So you want to eat food, whole food. So let's say people are into juicing. And juicing is good if you're juicing vegetables.
Okay.
But when you juice fruit, it's not. Because let's say an apple, for instance. An apple is great if you eat it whole because it's got fiber and everything
Fiber,
in there.
yeah.
So when you eat it, the fiber slows down your blood sugar level going in and you absorb it slowly. If you juice that, you take the fiber out and it's nothing but sugar. And your blood sugars are going to go sky high.
Okay, so for those that dealing with diabetes, because that is just, oh my God, it's so prevalent now, like high to the roof. People that, have diabetes, I've noticed they go, I take my medicine, they take their medicine religiously, but don't eat
Yeah, but they don't
according to the way that they should.
Right.
So, aren't they?
So diabetes kind of goes hand in hand with obesity. If you have a lot of obesity and excess adipose tissue, that secretes what we call inflammatory cytokines. Okay, they go out and they go back, and when you eat, your pancreas releases insulin. For those of us that have insulin, those who are type 1 don't. But let's say you're a type 2 diabetic, which are most people. They have what's called insulin resistance. So the way I describe that is, you have the pizza delivery man. He has the pizza. Inside is the glucose. And the pizza delivery man is the insulin. So he comes and knocks on the door of the cell. So insulin helps the sugar to get into the cell. But in people who have obesity and have excess inflammatory cytokines, they have what's called insulin resistance. Can't open the door. So the pizza man goes and drops the pizza off of the adipose tissue, which makes it even more inflamed. And then you get a vicious cycle and you get more resistance. So then the pancreas is having to go, I got to release more insulin to get this blood sugar. So initially, your blood sugar is okay, but over time, it can't keep up. And so you'll notice that the person's fasting blood sugar is slowly going up, going up, going up.
Exactly.
And elevated sugar is bad. It causes problems with your vision, causes problems with your kidneys. And we know that cancer cells love high sugar. Sugar feeds cancer cells. So we just have to eat better. One of the problems with our food supply is now that our food is not as nutritious as our parents or grandparents.
Exactly.
So whereas if our grandparents ate a bowl of spinach, to get the same amount of nutrition that they did, we'd have to eat 15 bowls of it, which is crazy.
And is that coming from the way it's been produced?
It's coming from the way it's being produced. It's coming from the soil. It's coming from and we haven't talked about the pesticides that they're putting on.
Wow. Ooh.
So.
Wow. We have a lot that we're going to talk about. So the hormones. Let's talk about the hormones, because a lot of women, they say, it's something it's gonna come, you're gonna have to deal with. And what was happening with me is my skin got very irritated. And so I was put on some medication to try to help it out with the skin, and I had a lot of water retention. And so Dr. Himes was sharing with me about some natural things as well. And I was like, I would love that. So help us to understand this hormone thing, because I'm finding out that men deal with some things as well.
Right. Women go through menopause, which means your ovaries stop making estrogen and progesterone, usually in their 40s. If a woman has a surgical removal of the uterus and ovaries, it'll happen much sooner.
Okay.
So you can get symptoms of hot flashes, night sweats.
Yes, sir. That's what's been going on with
memory, irritability, all those things.
Yeah.
So we know that to have optimal brain function and memory, your hormones need to be in balance. It's like a symphony. If the horns are playing too loud, then the other people you can't hear. All the hormones have to be in balance.
Okay.
And what we know in natural medicine is that with, for instance, sex hormones, estrogen in women, progesterone, testosterone in men, they have to be in balance. As you get older, in men, they go through what's called andropause. Their testosterone drops.
Okay.
So traditional medicine has started giving men all this testosterone, and they're giving them way too much. Way too much. Too much testosterone in a man will give you a heart attack and a stroke. And that's what we're starting to see, because they're just giving people too much. So when we measure the hormones, we measure them in saliva, not in the blood. So the way I tell my patients is that it's like you have a FedEx truck, and the FedEx truck is delivering the package, which is the estrogen or the testosterone or whatever, to the door, which is the cell. Well, the blood just tells me how many FedEx trucks I have. The saliva tells me how much stuff, how many packages are being delivered to the door, and that's what I want to know. So if you use the blood as a guide, you will give way too much hormone, and that's not good. So pregnenolone is the hormone that we call the memory hormone. It's also the mother hormone, because it's the mother of all these hormones. If you're stressed, you're under a lot of stress at work, your body's going to produce excess cortisol. Cortisol is good in what we call the flight or fright. So just think you're in a situation where you got to decide whether you're going to fight something that's bad or run away from it.
Okay.
So that's good to be stressed. So your heart rate's going to go up, blood's going to go to your muscles, it's going to go away from your GI tract. You don't need any blood there, because if you get killed by this, whatever, you don't need to digest your food. So blood goes to your eyes, your vision's better and all this. But just think, we are constantly stressed in that situation.
Right.
So you're producing that cortisol all the time. Too much cortisol is bad, because too much cortisol, as a lot of you know, decreases your immune function. So people who take prednisone or steroids chronically, they have a higher rate of other diseases, because it's just like the door is open and anything can come in there and infect you. So our bodies will make cortisol to the detriment of everything else, because we need cortisol to live. So your hormones, as you get better, estrogen, there's 3 estrogens, not just one. There's E1, estrone, E2, estradiol, and E3, estriol. We know that E1 is bad news, because we know women who have breast cancer have high levels of E1. So the Women's Health Initiative showed that they were saying, well, let's look and see if we give women synthetic hormones, what will happen? Well, I can tell you synthetic drugs have side effects. And even though they're almost the same, they're not. And so in my practice, I give bioidentical, they're identical to the hormones that are in the body. And you can have improved memory, get rid of the hot flashes, all kind of good things. Improve bone structure. And what we do is we give a combination of E2 and E3.
Wow.
So and so we measure, and then we give what needs to be given.
So you're saying the hormones can affect memory?
Oh, yes.
As well.
Absolutely. And
See,
in
I
women,
deal with the
in
high
women,
sweat.
estrogen is memory.
Oh,
In men, testosterone is memory.
wow.
In addition to muscle mass, but testosterone is memory. Estrogen in women is also strong bones. So another topic is vitamin D, but that's a whole nother topic. So
Wow.
we also know that in the brain, for brain function, insulin is very important and glucose is important in the brain. So we have type 1 diabetes, which are people who have to give themselves insulin because their pancreas doesn't make insulin. We have type 2 diabetes, who are people who are insulin resistant, and have to take oral pills to help that insulin work better. And now we have type 3 diabetes, and that's what Alzheimer's and dementia is about.
Okay.
So elevated insulin and elevated glucose in the brain causes problems with memory and brain function.
Okay, so you mentioned about Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's, yes.
That in people maybe with dementia, because we're hearing a lot of that now.
Right.
So what's going on?
People are inflamed. They're inflamed. Their blood sugars out of control, increased diabetes. They're obese. They have high blood pressure. All this causes problems in the brain. One of the main areas of my practice is the gastrointestinal tract, which is from your mouth to your anus. So in that period, that's where your immune system sits. 70% of your immune system is in your gastrointestinal tract. There is a connection between the gastrointestinal tract and the brain. Okay?
That makes
So
sense.
serotonin, most of the serotonin, which is involved with depression, comes from the GI tract. So if people are not eating right,
Really? Wow.
they can have problems with depression. So giving them antidepressants is not getting to the
root of it.
to the root of the problem. And those antidepressants have side effects,
Wow.
significant side effects.
So, wow. See, this is very helpful. Wow, conversations that we don't always have.
Right.
I mean, so
Things
Dr.
that you don't think about.
I know. So, Dr. Himes, what was the driving force for you to move from anesthesia to natural medicine?
I wanted to get people well naturally. Well naturally. There are so many herbs and things that have been used for thousands of years. There are medicines called adaptogens, and we use a lot of that for people to deal with stress. So one of the ways you can deal with stress is to meditate, to do things, breathing exercises to reduce your stress, because there's a balance between the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight, whether you're going to run or not, and parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. So if you're always stressed, you're not going to digest your food very well. So one of the things that we do in my practice is to get people to relax and to learn how to relax during the daytime. And one of the things you can use are called adaptogens. And these are herbs that have been in every society in the world, different herbs in different societies that help you deal with stress. These are plants that grow at high altitudes, very low oxygen, very high heat, very cold, that grow and can adapt to that stress. And when we take them, they help us adapt to the stress.
Wow. So let me ask you, because someone is probably watching and they probably have this question. When they come to you, how will you access them? Their condition.
Assess them, yeah.
And then
one of the things that I do is I spend a lot of time with the person, a good hour, 15, hour and a half. So we go through your medical history. We go through, are you sleeping? We go through, what are you eating? We go through your social history. A lot of people are holding on to things that they shouldn't hold on to.
Ooh, say that again.
They're holding on to, they need to forgive.
Wow. Didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, and that's deep.
Yes.
Okay, and so there's a book called Boundaries that I have people read, and it talks about putting boundaries in your life. between you and your spouse, you and your children, you and your siblings. There are people in families where they were the giver and the other siblings were the takers. Wow. And they are, all they do is give, and they on empty. So all of these things are involved in your health.
Wow.
So if you have a parent that you're angry at and they're dead and you still angry at them, that's killing you.
Y'all better
You
listen.
have to forgive. You have to let it go.
Wow.
Because that's just hurting you on the inside.
Now, see, I didn't see that was coming.
This is deep.
Look, you bring in the
I tell
natural
people, I
and
said,
the spiritual.
that person's gone.
Yes.
You got to let it go.
You preaching now.
You got to let it go. You need to go to the graveside and talk to them and say, I forgive you.
Wow.
You were wrong and all that, but I forgive you and I have to let it go because I got to live.
Now you see what's happening. Dr. Himes, this is so good right here. I mean, because I am a giver at heart.
Right.
I have given my all.
Right.
And
what you'll find is that people that they willing to take,
yes,
but they will drain you dry, which is why you got to put up boundaries of give, and pretty soon, hey, it's time for me to, you're out of the house, but it's time for me and your father, we have a life too.
Some people don't know how to do that.
Right.
But I want you to understand how it affects your health.
Right. That affects your health in a negative way.
In a negative way.
Right.
Wow.
So all these things are stressful.
Wow.
All these things are stressful. So part of relaxation techniques and adaptations is dealing with stress in daily life. Wow. Dealing with stress. So too much sympathetic system causes damage to the organs, causes diabetes, high blood pressure, cancer, all this. So all that needs to be taken care of.
This is good. This is good.
But this is an active thing. You don't go through life just sitting back on the couch.
Right.
You got to get up. You got to exercise. You got to deal with the stresses in your life, the people in your life. Social interaction. Social interactions are important as you get older. Having friends, and particularly as you age. When I talk about physical exercise and resistance, you also need to exercise your brain. Whether that's crossword puzzles, learning a new language, learning how to dance, learning new dances.
Yes.
Anything that puts something new in your brain where your brain has to put new neurons and new pathways, that is excellent for memory.
Okay, that's a good point right here, Doc. So, some people, what about for people that just don't want to change? They're just accustomed, this is how it's been. When you mention about the neurons,
yeah, the connections,
the new ones, connecting by doing something new.
Right.
I love that. I like to give myself a challenge.
For instance, try walking backwards for a block. If you tell a kid to do that, they can do it.
They can do it, yeah.
Now, an adult, it's very hard because you're not used to it, but it makes your brain. Or take a watch that has hands on it, wear it on the wrong side and wear it upside down to make your brain go, oh, I have to think about, okay. And so those things help your memory because see, there's all kinds of things in memory. There's short-term memory and there's long-term memory. And again, we get back to sleep. And let's talk about alcohol. Now, alcohol can be deleterious to memory. So up until this point, they have said that men can have 2 drinks or 2 units a day, women can have 1. But I'm to the point now where I say men can have 1 and women can have a half. And so a unit of a drink is 4 ounces of wine, 6 ounces of beer, or a shot, 1.5 of heavy liquor. So,
is red wine safe? It's good?
Yeah, wine is good. Okay. Red wine is even better because resveratrol is in the red grape. But women cannot drink as much as men. Cannot. Their livers are not as big. They cannot change that alcohol and detoxify it as fast.
Some women can put it down more than the men, though.
Yeah, but they are affecting their brain to a deleterious
I'm trying to help
point.
somebody.
Yeah. So worrisome as kids when they go off to college. There's all this binge drinking going on.
Yes.
That's really dangerous. It's really bad.
Young people, listen.
Yeah.
Listen.
That's I never did understand that when I was in college. People were getting, why would you want to do that?
Right.
Lose control.
Wow.
And particularly with women, you don't want to be losing control.
Wow.
You want to be in control.
Yes. I know you have been enjoying Dr. Himes. So for those that are interested more about this natural medicine and what he probably have at his office, people probably want to know, do you have some supplements, in the office and
Right.
what you probably have? How can they go about contacting you?
Go to our website at opt, the number 4, wellness.com, or you can call and make an appointment at 706-566-5764. And regarding supplements, what you have to understand is I deal with pharmaceutical grade vitamins and supplements. So you can go down to Sam's Club, you can go to Costco, and they have supplements in there. They have fish oil and whatever. The problem with those is they have not been tested, and you don't know what's in them. They may have 50% of what they say, and the other 50% is filler, and that can be deleterious to yourself.
Wow.
So you have to be very, very careful. The studies that I know where these things work is with pharmaceutical grade, so that you know what you're getting.
Oh, so you're saying when we go to those the stores,
Right, and it's $2. There's a reason why it's $2.
Ooh, wow.
And see what the pharmaceutical companies will do is they'll say, well, these things don't work. Well, they don't work because they do a study and they'll use this stuff where they know it's not, who knows what's in it, and it doesn't work.
Wow.
When you do the study with pharmaceutical grade, where they're tested every 2 weeks and I know what's in them, they work.
Okay. I want what works.
That's right. You want the real deal.
Yes. So I asked the question because I'm pretty sure someone has that question. Will insurance pay for this?
They pay for some, probably not. So I have people to pay, and then I give them the information so they can give to their insurance, and they may get some reimbursement.
Okay.
They will certainly pay for blood tests. They will probably not pay for the saliva testing. So it's kind of an idea of pay me now or pay me later when you're in the hospital bed looking up at the ceiling, they've cut your chest open. So in talking about men and testosterone, one of the things you need to realize is that if a man, let's say he's in his 50s or 60s, he has erectile dysfunction, that tells me that he has heart disease.
Really?
Because if his vessels in his penis don't work and they're blocked, then the vessels in his heart are blocked.
Oh, that makes sense.
Then the vessels in his brain are going to be blocked. So he's at a high incidence of stroke.
Wow.
So that tells you a lot about other parts of the body.
Yeah, something going on there
Right.
is something going on somewhere else.
That's right.
Because it's all kind of
It's
connected.
all connected.
Okay.
That's right.
Real talk right there, Doc. That's some real talk.
Right.
Wow, y'all. Ooh. You know what? I don't understand why the insurance company will not pay for this quickly. Because these are preventive measures. Some
Right.
of this is what you're
I
sharing
believe
with us.
some of these people don't want us to be healthy.
Ooh.
There's a certain amount of money that can be made in people being sick and disease.
That's why I like you, because you're being honest.
There's a huge industry there. So
There's somebody gonna lose some money.
insurance companies are another issue because basically they're the middle people, and what are they giving us? They're just pushing paper and denying people care,
Wow.
which is terrible. So there's companies now that if you go to the emergency room, they won't pay for it for certain things. So you got to call them up and say, are you going to pay for this ahead of time, or are you going to get some huge bill? It's terrible.
Wow. And if we could get more preventive measures and medicine or just knowledge, people wouldn't have to be up there
But we
almost to the point of
we
death
can be
in the
healthy
hospital.
and well. We just have to be
Exactly.
proactive and get out there and work. We can't sit back and let people say, well, you're going to be sick and take this pill. You can do it yourself. There's a lot you can do yourself.
Wow. This is good.
And I can help you do it.
Awesome. So you're in Columbus,
Yes.
Can you let people know where you're located?
I'm in Dr. Malone's office building, which is at 2039 10th Avenue in Columbus, and be happy to see you and get you healthy and well.
All right. Well, Dr. Himes, before we close out, I want you to speak from your heart to the people. You've shared your heart, and just anything else that you would like to share with the people to encourage the people about just taking better care about themselves. Because see, one thing I asked Dr. Himes during the break is, you know, what made him want to go into this coming from anesthesia? Because I do know, you know, that probably was a lot easier for you.
Right.
But you share
Well,
with me.
I get to see what's going on inside of people, and I see how sick they are on the inside. And all these poor eating habits, poor lifestyle have an effect long term. And I said, there's got to be a better way. But what we're doing is not working. I got to do something that will work and get people well. Because my job, you know, I feel like I have a calling. You know, God, I said, you know, what do you want me to do? And my job is to get people well. Because you can have your spiritual life together, but if you're not taking care of this body and your temple, God can't help you. It's on us. You got to be proactive.
It's on us. That's it right there. You said it.
You have the power. You got to use it.
That's right. That's what I like about you. You're being honest, and that's real. That's realistic. Yeah. That is just, it's just no way around it. I mean, it is the absolute truth. And the word said, you know, faith without works is dead.
That's right.
What you have to put the work in. You have to do something too.
That's right.
Oh my
you
God.
can't sit back and just not, well, I don't want to exercise because I'm too tired. Well, you know, you can walk 30 minutes, 3 times a week at a good pace. That's all you need to do.
Oh, this has been good. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything else you would like to share before?
Well, I'd love to come back, talk about vitamin D.
Okay.
And that's a very important subject. And it's finally getting into the generalized press now.
Good.
And most African Americans' vitamin D is very, very low.
We all, I believe. I've been asked. My doctor told me to take it. My husband is having to take it. My mom and dad are having to take it.
The problem is most people aren't even taking close to enough. The traditional medical community says that 30 is enough. Well, our studies have shown that I have my patients up in 80, 90, or 100 because people that are at that level, for instance, colorectal cancer, they have a 30% reduction just from the vitamin D level. We're not even talking about fiber and all those other things that you can do. So, and it's hard to get vitamin D.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to eat oily fish, that's salmon and anchovies and sardines, but you're going to have to.
Like we used to.
No, you're going to have to supplement. And like I was telling you during the break, farm-raised fish is bad news because they're feeding them corn, and corn is bad for the fish and it's bad for us. It's very inflammatory.
Wow.
When you look at the amount of vitamin D that those farm-raised fish have, line cut in the ocean fish may have 5 to 6 times as much vitamin D in it.
Wow,
So.
wow. This is, oh my, I got so many more questions. We definitely will have to get you back on.
We just touched the surface.
I know. And
that's why I thought it was so fascinating when I got into this. I said, you mean I can make people well with food and other things?
Wow.
It's incredible.
So when you say vitamin D, the amount, how many IUs? Because I go by the IUs.
Right.
About how many should we be having a
The
day?
way I look at it is I measure their level and then I replace it. So without knowing where your level is, I don't know how much to replace. I know in my mind how much you need by what your level is. So for instance, I had a young lady who was very depressed. Her vitamin D level was 7.
Okay.
7.
Okay.
We know that low vitamin D levels cause depression. Okay.
Wow.
If you look at the Earth, at the equator, as the further you get from the equator, the less sunlight you get, the higher the rate of depression. So people in Nordic countries, Scandinavian, whatever, where they're very high up and don't get as much sunlight, they have a much higher rate of depression.
Ooh.
So their vitamin D levels are much lower. People with multiple sclerosis have a much lower vitamin D level. People who are depressed have a much lower vitamin. So by just replacing her vitamin D and getting it at an optimal level, she's come out of the fog.
Wonderful.
That's just from vitamin D.
Wow.
And you know, food in and of itself can work too.
So do you have vitamin D at your office?
Oh yeah. Well, I don't have. I use it. I have a supplement that I use
Okay.
to get to people.
So people can,
but,
yeah,
you know,
okay.
if people are taking like 400 or 500. That's nothing.
Okay.
A lot of times I'm, depending on their level, giving 5,000 or 10,000
Yeah.
for a period of time. I use
Yeah.
because people are so. And if you have dark skin, we don't. The sunlight does not cause the reaction, so our vitamin D levels are lower because of that.
Wow. You definitely would be back on, and I got an idea of something else that we can do.
Okay.
Well, there you have it, Dr. Stanley Himes. I'm going to share with you the website again. It is opt4wellness.com. I'll spell it. OPT 4wellness.com. He is right here in the local area. I'm sure this has been a great informative show for you. Pass it on, please. Share it when you see this show. Save lives, make a difference. Make a difference in your own life. I thank you so much. God bless you.
Remember, your health is your wealth. If you don't have your health, you can have all the money in the world.
Okay.
It won't make any difference.
Wow. I mean, there you go. He summed it up well. Thank you so much for tuning in to Street Talk, and Dr. Himes, he will be back on the show. You're watching Street Talk here on CTV Bean.